Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be doing a very big video, and that is going to be ranking every single MCU film in a tier list. And I've been wanting to do this for a little while with Deadpool and Wolverine, and I haven't actually done one of these since I think it might actually have been Multiverse of Madness, maybe even earlier than that I last did an MCU ranking. I can't quite remember, but I haven't done one in a while, and I kind of wanted to do it just with the films because there's already enough to talk about, and also I'm not the type of person that thinks it's fair to rank both a show and a film in the same category. So for that reason, we're just doing the films here, and another thing to keep in mind is this is just my personal opinion. And I am a huge MCU fan. I absolutely love these films. I've grown up with these, so some of them I'll try not to be nostalgic with them. I'll try my best. However, there's always a possibility. But with that all said, let's get started with the one that started it all, Iron Man from 2008. Also keep in mind that there will be spoilers. Yeah, good thing. This is a casual video though, just hanging out, chilling, having a drink, and watching. Okay, so the first one here is Iron Man. Now, this is a funny one because it feels so much different to the other MCU films because it doesn't have the weight of the other ones. It doesn't have like the attachment. Like it doesn't feel like it's trying to build up to something. It was just its own standalone film at the time. So for that reason, it's really fun to watch now. It's just a superhero nostalgic film. So I'm gonna put it in A. I think this film holds up really well, and this is definitely one that could go off my list throughout the video. I think this film got everything it needed to right. It's fun. It tells its story. The casting at the time with Downey was absolutely amazing, and the fact that Jon Favreau managed to get him off the ground after his career was completely destroyed after a subject involving drugs. And this film is just, it means something because it started off the MCU, and if you can land your first film so perfectly, who knows what you'll do next. And it's a feel good film at the same time because it's just like this film worked, and it's just like what does it turn into? And because we go on this long journey with Tony right up until Endgame, and how Robert Downey Jr. portrays him, this just being the start of his journey is great. So next one on here is the Incredible Hulk. This is another funny one, and I'm really debating between C and D. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go C for now. I don't hate this film. Actually, no. I'm gonna be nice. Let's go B. I don't hate this one. Um, it just feels so out of place. It's the only MCU film to be done by Universal, and obviously Edward Norton didn't come back, and some of the story elements are a little bit odd, and I feel like the build up for Abomination was done really poorly, and the adventure itself just isn't that investing. But as a standalone Hulk film, it's quite strong. When you take it out of the MCU completely and look at it on its own, it's a great Hulk film. Like, it's a really fun, enjoyable film with issues, but issues that you can also get over at the same time. But when you compare it to some of these films, it's nowhere near the top. Um, so I don't hate it as much as some people do, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. But it's probably going to go lower in B. I dare say it'll be close to the end, if not at the end. Possibly could go down to C, but I can live with that at the moment. Then we have Iron Man 2. Um, so, yeah, this one, I know some people love it, some people hate it, some people are in the middle. I'm in the middle with it. I think I can live with putting it here. Like, I don't know, this one, I see a lot of hate for it. if the film does feel very rushed, and there's a lot of story elements that feel clunky, and the fact that Tony gets beaten up to Rhodey and just does nothing about it, and a lot of the film is spent with him doing nothing. But the positives to this film is it introduced Black Widow to the MCU, a prominent, large character. And obviously, we had the moving forward with the MCU with having Nick Fury in there and everything like that. So, pretty strong, like, build up. I wasn't really invested in the villain, Whiplash. The final battle was okay. I don't know. To me, it's low stakes. It felt really rushed, and it felt like such a downgrade. So but kind of looking at it now, Phase One of the MCU has really high highs and some pretty low lows, because our next one here is Thor. Now, for a long time, this was my least favorite MCU film, but now I can live with it in a C because we've gotten worse. But rewatching it, it actually my opinions have changed a little bit, because I feel the film has a lot of heart to it at the same time, and I feel because Chris Hemsworth was so well casted and Tom Hiddleston as Loki, the chemistry they share together is really strong. I think when it comes to the whole Jane thing, I've never been a big fan of that. So the whole that whole element I was never really a big fan of, and I feel the whole thing about Thor's relationship with his hammer and learning to be the god of thunder, we see it again, but we see it interpreted a lot better, especially in Ragnarok. So it's an okay film, but not one I go to a lot. So yeah, it's a mixed film for me. It's got elements. I mean, it introduced Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye, so that was another big one. So if I keep going quiet, I've got a drink, because when you talk for this long, your mouth gets really dry. Then we've got Captain America: The First Avenger. Now, I'm really biased for this one because I love this film. Um, this is a funny one for me because I remember watching it for the first time, and being really confused why it was based in the war. And, like, I don't know, when I was really young, I was just like, I don't really get this. But no, this one's a great film, actually. Um, the 2/3 of this film are fantastic. The fact that we see Steve Rogers, Chris Evans go from this low person to a soldier, a hero, and how he develops and how he becomes this character. It's a great origin story, and it tells the story really well. And the way that it builds the war as well, and also the relationship that he shares with characters around him. For example, Bucky, that relationship that we see develop more, and how it left you on that bit of a cliffhanger. But also, this is a very emotional film because it's about a love story at the same time. It's a romance with Steve's relationship with Peggy. And obviously, we see that in Endgame. But the final line of this film, I had a date, literally is one of the most heartbreaking lines I've ever seen in a film. I had a date, blackout, credits. Now, the reason it's not a little bit higher is because I think the kind of final half an hour isn't as good. Like, it turns into more of a superhero film, which is fine because it is a superhero film. Captain America is a superhero, but like I feel it loses the World War aesthetic a little bit, and kind of what they do with Red Skull and things. It's not quite as strong, but it's still great. Then we have Avengers. Now, this one is a cult classic. This was the first billion-dollar MCU film, and it did something at the time which no other film had ever accomplished. It brought these heroes together. And so many other franchises have tried to do this to this day with, like, Justice League and things, and none of them have been able to top the pure aesthetic and that happiness that you felt seeing these Avengers together, their chemistry, their emotion, how they share similarities to one another, how they need each other, how they create this family to themselves. It's really, really strong. Each six of the Avengers, Iron Man, Thor, Black Widow, Hulk, Captain America, Hawkeye, they all get a moment to shine. And the final battle to this film is really good. I think it's a really great third act because it's just pure comic book aesthetic, and also it's a really really fun filled action superhero film. This is what I love in every superhero film. It has everything that I want. And the only reason it's not higher is because kind of other ones did it better, you know. So that's the only thing. But yeah, then we got Iron Man 3. Um, is one I'll put it at the top of B. I really am a bit biased for this one. I think might actually be the most underrated MCU film, possibly. Um, I think the Mandarin twist is really weak. I don't really like that. I like the Christmas atmosphere. I don't know why. Um, but I think the way that they didn't know what they were going to do with Downey in the end. So the way that they kind of closed out his storyline, it doesn't hold up as much. But then again, seeing all the suits fight together is really cool. Um, it's got high stakes. I think the action is pretty cool. I enjoyed the action. I thought it was funny at times, and I think it was just an improvement over the second one. It felt less rushed, and it kind of hit the mark a little bit better. So yeah, I can live with it in B. Thor: The Dark World. Yeah, let's go bottom C. Yeah. I know this like for some point in time this was like the worst MCU film. Um, and it's just forgettable. Like the villain in it, I can't even remember his name, but the only reason he's memorable is because of how forgettable he is. Um, and it's just got some really weird elements, and then it's got the whole thing with like Loki's death, which doesn't actually happen. It's just pretty bland. Like it just doesn't have a lot to offer. It's not entertaining. It's not funny when it tries to be. Really, it's just I don't know. It just doesn't quite hit the mark like I feel other MCU films do, if that makes sense. But I don't know. It's an okay film. Like at the time, Marvel hadn't had like a rotten film on Rotten Tomatoes. This was like their worst film. But like I don't know. It's not a bad film. It's just not a great film at the same time. Like when we'd had this streak of like really great Marvel films because we'd had Iron Man, First Avenger, Avengers, Iron Man 3, and then you just get to Thor: The Dark World, and it's just like, eh, yeah, just didn't really like get a lot out of it, I guess. So yeah. Then let's move on to Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Now this film is absolutely amazing. So let's find a spot. Do you know what? I think I'm gonna go S. Actually, I'm gonna go S with this one. Um, Now this here ain't no superhero film. This is a political thriller. I think the atmosphere that they build with this film is some of the MCU's best, and the villains are great because they are threatening, and how Hydra was developed in like Avengers and everything like this was a good payoff for that. And this has really high stakes. Like the final battle has you on the edge of your seat because you don't know who's going to make it out. And then when you see Steve's relationship with Bucky and him trying to get him to remember him, really packs an emotional punch. And it's really intense because you want both of them to make up and get out on the right side. And it leaves it open, but also it's just a great standalone film. This is one of those ones where I could rewatch it over and over again. I think this is a phenomenal film. Um, and the action sequences are also great with Nick Fury. Like that car accident scene is both intense but really great at the same time due to its sense of atmosphere and grand scale. Um, so yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Then we have Guardians of the Galaxy. Now this one is going at the top, and what a film! Because at the time James Gunn was announced to adapt the Guardians of the Galaxy storyline, and everyone's like, "What? Like Avengers are just great. Marvel's just gonna fall down." And they're getting the guy from Parks and Rec, Chris Pratt, and then they're getting Zoe Saldana, and they're getting wrestler Dave Batista. They're getting the Hangover guy, Bradley Cooper, and they're also getting Dom Toretto from Fast and Furious as a talking tree. And it ended up being absolutely phenomenal. This film is perfect. Like, it is a perfect masterpiece in every single way. It's funny. It has an emotional hook. It's enjoyable. It's fun. It's silly. It's intense. Has a great sense of atmosphere, action, and it all comes down to James Gunn's eye of this film, because these are characters no one really knew, and you put all these different type of people together, and they form a family. They argue, they bicker, but at the end of the day, they learn they need each other. And also, the music, the soundtrack in this was great, and these are some songs to this day that are still in my playlist. And there are just such great standout scenes. The CGI looks great as well. This was like the first time the MCU went to space. Like, that's crazy. And even like the ending with Groot at the end, even though he comes back, but then again he doesn't. Like, watching it after knowing what comes next still hits. Like, it still hits those emotions right. And that's why I love this film. And they just did a great job of developing this emotional connection to these characters. And also, this is one that kind of kick-started the Thanos storyline. I guess, kind of, it was going from Avengers. It's been going the whole time, but this is the one where we probably saw Thanos, like, in action and everything. So yeah, this is a good one. I feel I'm spending longer on some of these now, just because this is peak MCU for me. So let alone we get into Phase 3, because I'll probably be spending like 10 minutes per film. No, I'm just kidding, but Let me have Avengers: Age of Ultron. Let's see. Let's have a look. I can live with it going as like a B plus. And like, I don't know. This one was a downgrade because Ultron as a villain was like really exciting. It was good. I think it's quite a complicated film because obviously, on the one hand, it's about like Jarvis and everything, and then we're introduced in Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch and Paul Bettany's Vision and Quicksilver, who got killed off, and things like that. It's a very complicated and complex film, and it feels like they're trying to tackle too many ideas in one 2 hour and 10 minute long film. And it felt like it was just trying to go bigger than the other one. And bigger doesn't always mean better. Like, it goes larger in scale, but it doesn't really need to. Like, yeah, an Avengers film does need to be big scale, but it doesn't need to be this big for just one Avengers standalone film. However, the action sequences are really great, and just some of the scenes we get are so cool. Like, we get Hulkbuster versus Hulk, we get the Sokovia final battle, and we also get the beginning battle in like the winter place, the field, wherever it is, the woods, forest. So many great scenes. I feel like this was a weaker adaptation of Tony Stark because he's treated as a bit of an idiot in this one, because he makes stupid decisions and he's quite selfish. And you kind of see that collision between Tony and Cap quite a lot, which isn't a bad thing because obviously it's a plot line. But maybe could have done with maybe making him a little bit more likable. Like, if this was for some reason your first Avengers film and you looked at Iron Man, this was the first time you saw him, you'd go, yeah, I don't really like him. Like, he's selfish. Like, he's an idiot. Like, I don't really want to support him. So that's kind of the way it goes. But but in the end, it's great. Then we have Ant-Man. Now I really like Ant-Man, so I'm gonna go A. It's an A minus for me. Um, this one was different. Because it was kind of like a heist film, but it was like a silly comedy. And this is one of the easier watch MCU films, and I really like that because when you get these big Avengers scale films, it's also important that we need the smaller films, the debrief ones, and that's what Ant Man is there for. I mean, you can see here, if Infinity War, one of the biggest films of all time, what MCU films it followed up by? Ant Man and the Wasp, and that's why I love this film. Paul Rudd as Ant Man, Scott Lang is really great. He's performs so well because he's so charming and likable and innocent. I mean, not really innocent. He does go to prison a couple times, um, and the final battle scene is really great on the Thomas the Tank Engine train. That was really funny. Um, I think my one of my issues with this one is I feel Yellow Jacket was a little underdeveloped and he felt a little bit weak and felt like he was kind of started doing things a little bit too late into the film. Um, and I felt like you were more invested in just Scott Lang as a character than the whole other side to it. So yeah, but apart from that, this is a really strong film. I really like it. If you don't like it because you think it's too small, low stakes, that's all right. I can understand where you're coming from, but for me, I think this is a charming, funny, action-packed film, and it's one I often do go back to. And it's one of those ones where I've actually watched it with people for the first time. So there have been a couple people, like in my family and like friends, that I've tried to watch the MCU with them, and we've got to Ant-Man, and they're like, "Yeah, that was actually my favorite one. That was like my favorite one so far." So some people are just into the smaller scale films. Of course, I love the big ones, but you gotta love the small ones as well. You gotta have time for them. So yeah. Then we have Civil War, and boy, do these Captain America films just get better and better because this one's going in S. So I love First Avenger and love Winter Soldier even more. Love Civil War at the same time. I mean, Civil War is basically an Avengers film if you think about it. Um, oh yeah, and we're also on Phase 3 now of the MCU. I forgot to say I haven't even been mentioning the phases. We're on Phase 3 now. So this one is one of the most impactful and probably most important MCU films because it started the collision between Tony and Cap that was followed on into Infinity War and was the big reason why they lost because they couldn't work together. And through these characters fighting and that last fight where it's a 1v1 between Tony and Cap literally brings tears to your eyes because you're like, I love both of them. I don't want to see them fight. Like, I don't want one to come out on top. And you don't want to see them fight. You don't want to see one come out on top. You want to see them both be friends. And it's an important film at the same time because the stakes are so high. And this is like MCU at its peak. They knew what they were doing with this one. So yeah, this is a phenomenal film. And also we got Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, Black Panther introduced. So that was really great. And let me know in the comments. I'd like to know, were you team Cap or were you team Iron Man? When I first saw the film, I was team Iron Man because I just preferred Iron. I think it was more I was just biased because Spider-Man was on the team. I think whatever team Spider-Man was on, I'd kind of choose that one. And then like Black Widow was on there and War Machine, so I did pick that one. But yeah, the airport battle scene's really good as well. That's a standout one. And that's like one of those ones where like if I'm just sat chilling, I fancy watching a superhero clip, I'd search up on the keyboard Captain America Civil War airport battle scene because there's some really great moments in it. So yeah, I like that one. You have Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is an interesting one because there's some really great bits and some really weak bits at the same time. So I can live with it'll move. Yeah, I can live with top B. Because like it's it's a difficult one to review for me because the effects are really great, and that's like the big standout. Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange was great. That was a really good casting choice. Um, I just didn't. I thought like the villain was really weak, and the whole Dormammu thing was pretty funny. It was all right. Oh, apologies for my phone going off there. Let me mute it. And like things like that. However, it's I don't know. It's a little forgettable. It's not one of my go-to ones because it's just not quite as fun. Um, and it just doesn't have like as interesting elements. I think obviously the fact that we got Doctor Strange in the MCU is great, but like that's about it. Like, um, so yeah, it's a good but not a great film. Which pains me because that the effects are such a standout, and I feel it has like the effects. Seeing this for the first time was amazing. Like it was breathtaking, and because Doctor Strange has had such of an impact in the MCU, it's kind of sad. Um, but yeah, it's really good, but it's not great level. So yeah. Then we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Um, this is I'm a bit biased for this one because I remember seeing it for the first time and just falling in love with it. Um, and I look at it now, and maybe it's not like the best MCU film, but we've got to put it a. If you have issues with ego and some of the humor, I get that. I respect it. I understand it. Um, and the fact that Drax is completely talking down to Mantis, um, and literally calling her hideous and kind of picking on her due to some of her different features. Um, I get that. But this one has so much heart to it at the same time, especially with Yondu, is because this film emphasizes on second chances and how everyone deserves a second chance, and like his death scene is really emotional because it's not anything that's been undone, anything like that. It's just left such a large impact, and it's really emotional to experience that. Um, and the whole thing with Rocket is really great as well. His relationship with Yondu, and the three like baby Groot scenes are a great standout. We have the beginning bit where he's dancing to Mr. Blue Sky, and then the other one where he's trying to get Yondu's whistle antenna thingy um, in the prison, and then the last one where he I'm just trying to think with the bomb. That one, my mind is just not here. And I actually have a model of that bomb. It's actually just on my desk here. I have a model of the bomb that I actually got specially made for me. So I'm really grateful for that. Thank you to that person if you are watching who made that for me. But yeah, I think where my issues stand with this one is maybe it is a bit too silly, and maybe the stakes are raised way too high too late in the film because they don't realize who the villain is until the final 30 minutes of the film. Um, Apart from that, though, it's a strong, solid film. It makes me laugh. I'm sorry, it's a guilty pleasure. I know there's maybe a bit too much humor, but it does make me laugh. Some of these scenes, like the Mary Poppins thing, where Chris Pratt, Star Lord, Peter Quill just screams, "That's my freaking father!" Like things like that. So yeah, I really do love this one, um, and I like going back to it. Just it's the weakest of the Guardians, but that's not a bad thing. Then we have Spider-Man: Homecoming, and yeah, I'm sorry, but it's got to go here. And for a long time, Spider-Man: Homecoming was actually my favorite MCU film, believe it or not, because this is probably so far the closest we've got to a smaller scale Spider-Man film, where it's just New York and everything. And for me, I really connected to Tom Holland's Peter Parker and Spider Man, and the way that he's developed, and it's this coming of age story, and how he wants to prove himself to Tony Stark. And for someone my age, when I first watched that film, it was really relatable, the teenage aspect. And Spider-Man has always been such a relatable character to me, and that's why he is my favorite superhero, because he's always just been so relatable, because he is a superhero, but he's also a teenager, and he's trying to balance out life with his girlfriend and a job and money and things like that. And while that while this film doesn't have that aspect of it, it still lands. The action sequences are great, and Vulture as a villain is surprisingly great, because he's not a bad person, because he just cares about his family. Dom Toretto, am I right? Um, and like that car sequence where they both know, you know, Peter knows it's Vulture and Vulture knows it's Peter. Um, like that is intense. Like that's an intense car scene, and where he's with a gun and he's interrogating him, and it's kind of important as well at the same time, because Peter Parker learns that it's not just the suit, it's him. So like the final battle, while the final battle is the weakest part of this film, the fact that he is in the like homemade suit for the final battle actually leaves quite a large impact. So I really appreciated that, and it's just got a lot of fun scenes as well. Like the first 20 minutes of this film, before anything really gets started, it's just really fun. Like seeing Spider-Man swinging around New York, helping some people out, getting some churros, and helping old women cross the road and things like that. Like we haven't got that yet with Tom Holland's Spider-Man after this. Yeah, we will get it in the fourth Spider-Man film, but this was the start of a really great trilogy. I know I've probably spent the longest talking about this one, but yeah, for some time this was my favorite MCU film. Maybe not anymore, but it's still a good one. Then we have Thor Ragnarok, um, and this one is gonna go here. Now, this one I was actually, funnily enough, rewatching the other day, and it's so great. And I feel people forget that, because it was just such a new perspective for Thor. I mean, look, Thor 1 and 2 are literally at the bottom. Now Thor 3, Ragnarok, is literally near the top. Um, and that's why I love this film, because it's really funny, but it created a new identity for Thor. Whether, yes, that did turn into a bad thing after this film with Love and Thunder, but this film on its own is really funny. It creates a new perspective for Thor, and when he loses his hammer, he learns that he's more than just the hammer. You know, are you Thor, god of hammers? You're god of thunder, like that kind of thing. Um, so you know, I really love this film. It's so fun. It's really, really funny, and the whole thing with Hulk is great. Um, so I love it. Um, I remember watching this for the first time and not expecting much, because I wasn't keen on the other Thor films, but it really got me into Thor again. And that final battle with Hela is really great as well. Um, with Surtur and Asgard and things like that. So it's a really great film. And the whole thing with the song as well. The what's it called? Immigrant Song. That's really great. So love, love, love this film. This is a great must-watch film, and I love it. Sorry if you can hear a dog or something barking outside. I was trying to talk over it, but it's a little bit distracting. Um, okay, so moving on, we have Black Panther. This was this is a really difficult film to talk about now, because obviously Chadwick Boseman sadly did pass away. It's going at the top of A. In fact, I am going to put it behind Guardians 2. Um, just kind of putting that tragic story behind. This is a really great film. Um, because it it was different. It's a really different film to other Marvel films, and this one changed a lot. Um, and it created a new identity for Marvel. And Chadwick Boseman's performance was just phenomenal, and the whole storyline with Killmonger is really emotional, but really disturbing at the same time. And that is why I love this film so much, because it just hits hard. And I love it. Like, I think it's a really, really strong film, and rewatching it now is really emotional because of the passing of Chadwick Boseman, and things like that. And, you know, some of the fight scenes are great, the car chasing and things. The CGI in the final battle does look really rough, so that's my least favorite aspect of it. But apart from that, this is a great film. And I just remember being so surprised when I first saw this, because my expectations weren't very high because I didn't really know what to expect, and I loved it. Great film. Um, and then we're here. We've made it to Avengers: Infinity War, and you may or may not know. Oops. You may or may not know, but this is actually my favourite film of all time. So it's going in S. And just what a way to bring these characters together. You know, with we've got like Iron Man, Captain America. We've got the Avengers. We've got the Guardians. We've got Spider Man. We've got Black Panther. We've got every single character we've grown up with a 10-year build up, and this is what happens when it pays off. Thanos is an amazing villain for the reason that he's just doing what he thinks right. He's not a bad person, but then again, what he's doing is disturbing, and it's completely evil and physically not right. Um, and it's really emotional. This film did make me cry when I first saw it, and that cliffhanger is rough. It's scary. Um, and the fact that the villain won, like, he did it. So yeah, you gotta love this one. This is a absolutely phenomenal film in every single way. And I just love this one. I think the whole, whenever anyone dies, you feel the stakes and you feel the fear with Gamora, Loki, Heimdall, and then pretty much everyone at the end, or half of characters at the end. So yeah, I love this one. Then we've got Ant-Man and the Wasp, one I mentioned earlier. Um, Not quite as good. Put it there. Yeah, not quite as good as the first one. It's a lot smaller scale. I just remember it being such a fun film to watch after Infinity War, and the credit scene was great. Like, it was a great credit scene. Um, and just things like that. It really stuck the landing, and I just really did enjoy it. Mm. It's a fun film. Seeing the Wasp in action is great, and it's really funny. It's goofy. It's very, very small scale, no pun intended. Like, it's about people chasing after a briefcase. Yeah. Um, but like, I don't know. It doesn't leave that much of an impact, but it's also one to go back to if you're in the mood for a Marvel film, but not a crazy big Marvel film. If that makes sense. Um, and yeah, it's the perfect film to come out just after Infinity War. And the credit scene, I remember getting really hyped at the end. Um, and it's kind of sad, the downgrade of the Ant-Man films, but yeah, I think this is a great, solid film. Um, And if it was just a film on its own, I would really love it. But because it's when you're comparing it to all of the films above it, it doesn't quite stick the landing. Okay, next one on here, we are going a bit negative with this one. We've got Captain Marvel. We're gonna go at the bottom so far, and before anyone makes stupid comments saying that because it's a female-led film, that's why it's bad, that's not the reason. That is not the reason at all. Um, but yeah, this one isn't great. And I think they struggled to write Captain Marvel because she's a very cocky character. Like, there's a moment in the film where she realizes, wow, I'm more powerful than everyone. I can do whatever I want. I can obliterate these people. So there's actually a scene where she's like, I am the most powerful person in the entire universe. Bang, bang, bang. People getting blown up, destroyed, everything like that. And then from there, she's just really cocky and full of herself. And she's a really hard character to like. So I wasn't like a big fan of her necessarily. And as a whole, it's not a very entertaining film. It's not very funny when it tries to be. It's a bit boring. Seeing a young Nick Fury is probably the best aspect of this film. The CGI looks great in space and the scrolls and everything, but like that's about it. There's not a whole lot else to it. I rarely go back. I think I've seen this film 2 or 3 times max. I just don't like rewatching it. I just don't enjoy it. And if I'm honest, the film just annoys me every time I watch it because I really wish that they'd written Captain Marvel better because this film was such a bad start for the character that they still haven't found a way to improve her yet. And like everyone I've watched Marvel with hates Captain Marvel. I don't hate her. I'm just not a big fan. Then we got Endgame. We're gonna go just behind Infinity War, and what a way to close out the Infinity Saga in such a satisfying way. As it, it's a film with moments. I rewatched this film a couple weeks ago, um, and it has its moments. It's like the final battle sequence. It's like there's so many little bits when you hear Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther say, "Clint, give it to me," like things like that, or like him remembering his name, or it's like those interactions, those references, and like when Clint was like, "Hey, I'm Clint. I'm trying to do better voices. I should try. I should stop." And it really has that, and it has an emotional punch to it as well. That when you see Tony finally rest after they'd built up this character so well, really just makes you want to bawl your eyes out. Um, and I remember crying so hard when I first watched this one. And the only reason it's not higher is, I guess, because you don't get though all the heroes together, because obviously half of them are dead, so you don't get that. But it closed out the Infinity Saga so well. It had a good amount of humor that could be light-hearted, but was never overused. Um, and they just got everything they needed to right. They managed to close out this trilogy. Well, I don't even know why I said trilogy. The Infinity Saga in a satisfying way, and packed an emotional hook, and also kind of showed these characters in a different way. Because obviously, when 5 years has passed, a lot can change in that time, and this is how we see them. Great film, great, absolutely phenomenal film. Spider-Man: Far From Home. We're gonna go. I don't know. We're gonna go here. Yeah, not quite as good. It's got a lot of weird elements to it, and I think Mysterio's plan is a bit out of touch. I think the way they picked up after Endgame was great. Great film to release just after one of just after the biggest film of all time. And the way they build out Peter and MJ's relationship is really great and really emotional. To see where it obviously ends up going and things like that. And it's really funny. It's light-hearted. Obviously, this was the first time we'd had a Spider-Man film outside of New York, so That was good. And I like how the final battle was in London, because London is a place I go to a lot. So um, it's nice to go Spider-Man Far From Home sightseeing sometimes. Yes, that is what I do. Um, so this is a solid film and really great film to release just after Endgame. So yeah, I really love this film, but not great. Not well, yeah, it is great. It's just not like the top. Then we have Black Widow. Black Widow is one that's gone down for me over time. I'm gonna put it there. Um, but I think the biggest negative with this film is it released too late. Obviously, the character had just died, so it's kind of a film just advertising Yelena. And then the next thing is obviously the CGI doesn't look great in the third act, but that's about it. Like apart from that, it's a really solid film. Um, I really enjoyed it, and I'd watch it again. Like it's a really fun film personally. Um, Not one I go to loads, but Black Widow's just such a character that just was dying for her own film, and the fact that she got it is still great. Just released maybe too late, and maybe give the VFX department a little bit more time to do their job, Marvel, if that's okay. Um, and yeah, that's my biggest issue with this film. Apart from that, though, it's a really good film. Like Yelena and Red Guardian, great new characters. Great introductions to them. And Taskmaster, yeah, was underused and done very poorly. But I'm hoping that they undo that and improve her in Thunderbolts. Then we have Shang-Chi. We're just gonna go above. Now I know some people would put it higher. We're gonna go above Black Widow. Um, I'm not really into martial arts films, but I did really enjoy this one actually. Um, I guess the Marvel elements take over a little bit too much, um, and they just haven't really done anything with Shang-Chi yet. Like they need to. Like they just haven't really gone anywhere with the character. And I'm still waiting. Like when are you gonna do it? Still not. So yeah, that's my only issue with the film. But the action sequences are great. Like the bus scene, that's really really cool. Um, I don't find myself going back to it as much, but you'll see that as a trend with these Phase 4 films. But apart from that, really really solid and amazing film personally. Um, just yeah, those elements drag it down. It's just not quite my type of film. So it's a great film, and I understand why some people love it. Just not quite for me. Eternals, you did it. First one to go in D. Wow. One word to describe this film is boring. You got that Nigel Farage meme. Boring, boring. Yeah. This one is just boring. It's just not enjoyable. It's 2.5 hours of nothing. Like I didn't care for the characters. And boy, Sprite, literally, she's like the worst MCU character because she just spends the entire film whining, and I just couldn't get any type of connection to any of these characters. I think Angelina Jolie's character was quite good actually. She's like the only good one, I guess. And then like half of them die when you're trying to introduce them all, and there's just like nothing to the film. Like I just didn't really care about it enough. Um, I found it a bit lackluster. It was a little bit boring. Like it was uninspired, unfunny. Um, and that's about it. It's just boring. It should have. I hate using the word boring for films, but I struggle to sit through this because it is boring. I wonder how many times I've said boring today. Um, but yeah, it's not a great film. It's the worst MCU film. Then we've got Spider-Man No Way Home. We're going right up here, all the way to here. I've never seen this poster before. Is this a real poster? Part of me thinks that's a fake poster. I don't know. If someone in the comments could confirm that. A lot of these posters are all like the stylized DVD ones. But yeah, this one did the impossible. It's a love letter to every single Spider-Man fan, and I've spoken about this film a lot, so I'm going to try not to spend so much time on it. But they brought together the three Spider-Men and did it right. They brought the villains back. They did it right because this film finishes off the origin story for Peter Parker's Spider-Man and does it right. You know, seeing these three Spider-Men together was so nostalgic and really emotional. And I just remember seeing that portal open and seeing my favourite Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, come back. Literally almost brought me to tears. I was almost crying. I'm not joking. And then Toby coming back and, hearing Alfred Molina's Doc Ock say, the power of the sun in the palm of my hand. Oh, great. Honestly, love it. And that is why I just love this film so much. It is a love letter to every single Spider-Man fan, and it has its moments. It's really emotional in the third act where everyone forgets Peter Parker. And, I know some people have some issues with the plot setup, but personally, I love it. Then we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I am sorry, I don't like this film. I came out of this film very disappointed. I think the Wonder was done really poorly. The multiverse aspect was both disappointing, and I thought the cameos were severely unearned. And I didn't have any connection to America Chavez. I didn't like the whole prison thing where both America Chavez and Doctor Strange get arrested. They're in like a prison cell, handcuffed, things like that. Just didn't think that was a good way to introduce the Illuminati. It's just underutilized. When you have a film called Multiverse of Madness, you want Multiverse of Madness. Give us Multiverse of Madness. They failed on that. The best part about this one is the horror element. That's really great. Apart from that, though, I don't want to keep going on about this one because it just really disappointed. It's like the most disappointed film I think I've ever watched. And then with Thor: Love and Thunder, good there. Yeah, another disappointing one actually. I wanted to love this one, but the humor just took over way too much. When you can't take yourself seriously in a film, when you're literally tackling plot lines like cancer, wow. Like there's screaming goats, there's been like annoying elements, Korg and things like the film just can't take itself seriously. It's constantly joking and messing around about everything. So for me, this was a very underwhelming film and has gone down dramatically recently. And I didn't care about the Jane Foster thing that much. I think the cancer thing is really sad, but then again, they don't take it seriously enough because you're just a joke every 2 seconds, and then Zeus and he's like electric thunderbolt thing looks like a prop from a British soap or something. I don't know. But yeah, dealing with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and I'm gonna put it here. I think the actual backstory to this, how Chadwick Boseman did pass away, and how tragic that was, but they also did it really well. It was a film which everyone spoke about when it first came out, but I just don't hear anyone talking about it now. And I think that's really sad because this is actually a really solid film and emotional at the same time. I've only seen it twice because it's way too long. It's almost 3 hours. It did not need to be that long. I think Ironheart getting introduced is really great, and we've got Namor in there, and the fact that Shuri took over the role of Black Panther, I couldn't think of a better person to do that. And it's emotional. Like when you're just looking at Chadwick Boseman passed away, it's really great. And the Lift Me Up song is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful song. So I can't complain about this film that much. Just way too long. They could have cut it by almost an hour. I think maybe 40 minutes. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, another disappointing one. Let's go here. Yeah, very disappointing film actually. Just because the CGI didn't look great, the story wasn't investing. I thought what they did with kind of Cassie Lang and how she was recast and everything's not great. And then obviously it doesn't hold up very well because Jonathan Majors with Kang and everything. He was the best part of this film, but like it lost the heart and the light-heartedness because you literally introducing your big bad at the time in an Ant-Man film. Not a great plan, as Tony Stark would say. So yeah, disappointing one for me. Wasn't a big fan of that one, but one I am a big fan of is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is going in S. I cried my heart out of this one. This is a beautiful film, which sends off the Guardians in such an amazing way that words just can't describe. And I just love what they did. I mean, with Rocket's backstory, it's tragic and it's emotional, but it's so great at the same time. The action sequences, like the No Sleep Till Brooklyn bit, is fantastic. James Gunn knew what he was doing, and they just got everything they needed to right with this one. So this is a great film, and it still makes me emotional to this day. This is the last time we'll see all the Guardians together. And kind of what they do with Drax, where it's like he wasn't built to be a destroyer; he was built to be a dad. And it has those moments, and also High Evolutionary. You hate him, but he's also an amazing villain at the same time. So, love hate kind of villain. You hate him, you want to see him destroyed, taken down, but at the same time, the performance is really great, and that's good. That's what you want in a villain. You want to hate them, but then again, they're such a good character at the same time. So Then we've got the Marvels. We're gonna go D here. This one is a little tricky because I wasn't invested. I didn't really like the Miss Marvel show. I thought it was boring and uninspired. And the fact that this film requires so much homework. The film's way too silly. It's overbearing. The villain's really weak. Not investing. Captain Marvel, how she literally murdered a complete civilization. No wonder they call her the Annihilator, because she literally killed thousands of people because she just didn't care what she was doing. So yeah, and then we got like her being like a princess and dancing around, and it's just way too silly. Couldn't take itself seriously, and it's just uninspired, and yeah, it's not great. Then we have the final one, Deadpool Wolverine. I've seen this film twice at the cinema so far, and I love it. So we're gonna go. I think I'm gonna put it here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it gets the 7th spot. And wow, what a way to bring back Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, but also have so much heart to it as well. They deliver on the cameos, unlike Multiverse of Madness. Like, they did it right. It's really, really funny. It's gory, has lots of swearing. They don't hold off. The music is great. And they got this film right. They knew what they needed to do with this one. So I loved it. It was really funny. The fact that people are cheering, because I started cheering in the cinema because when Hugh Jackman's Wolverine puts the cowl on, it's great. And we've got the bye 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 scene. We've got the scene where they fight the Deadpool variants. So many great scenes. And it's also just a really good film. Like, it's a really fun film that gets you hyped, gets you pumped. And for that reason, I just love this one so much. I think this is an amazing film. And I couldn't, honestly, I couldn't have asked for more with this one. Maybe the story and setup could have been a little bit better. That's why it's a bit lower. They didn't quite get the motivations of Wade right and everything, but it's a great send-off to the Fox X-Men universe. They have it. So yeah, guys, that is all. I've done it. In almost an hour, I've ranked every single MCU film from worst to best. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know your ranking, and I might do the TV shows. I'd like to rank the Fox universe with Deadpool and Wolverine. But thank you so much for watching, guys. And if you did make it to the end of the video, I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. We recently hit 1K subscribers, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. And I love the MCU so much. It's sad, the little downgrade that we've seen. However, this is my favourite film franchise of all time. I've laughed, I've cried, I've cheered. I can't wait for more, Can't wait to be coming back here when Secret Wars and Doomsday comes back and things like that. But these are a set of characters I love, and I can't wait for more. And we've got Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom coming in, which is going to be really, really exciting. But yeah, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching. Please comment, and subscribe, share this with your friends, family, and let me know your thoughts down below, and you can share your ranking. However, that is all for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye, Marvel fans. Excelsior. Love you 3000.